It was just another Monday morning at JFK, until the sound of tearing paper silenced the crowd.
This is standard procedure, sir.
The crowd at JFK International buzzed with early morning chaos. The low hum of announcements, the clatter of rolling suitcases, the scent of espresso wafting from a nearby cafe. Business travelers in press suits rushed past families, juggling toddlers and carry-ons. It was just another ordinary Monday, until the sound of paper tearing sliced through the noise. "Excuse me, what did you just do?" The man's voice was calm, but beneath it there was steel. The TSA agent, a woman in her mid-30s with tired eyes and a name tag that read him Keller, froze. In her right hand, half torn and trembling, was the passport of Marcus H. Lee, CEO of Helix Dynamics, one of the fastest-growing tech companies in America. But at that moment, no one at the checkpoint saw the CEO. They just saw a tall black man in an expensive suit and a white TSA agent who had just ripped his passport. A silence fell around them. Phones came out. Cameras clicked. Marcus exhaled slowly. He wasn't angry. Not yet. But his heart hammered in his chest, the old, familiar tension rising. Bah! He'd worked decades to build himself into the kind of man who could walk into any boardroom in the world and command respect. Yet here, in the middle of an airport, it felt like he'd been stripped of all that. "But sir," Keller stammered, "this passport looked tampered with." "It's standard procedure to—" Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Standard procedure to tear a passport?" She swallowed hard. "I made a mistake." He looked at her for a long moment. Then he simply said, "Yes, you did." One. The weight of silence, Marcus stepped aside as other travelers gawked. Security guards moved closer. Somewhere behind him, someone whispered, "That's that guy from Forbes, the billionaire tech dude." He turned slightly. "I'd like to speak with your supervisor," he said quietly. Keller nodded, pale and shaking. "Of course, right away." As she stepped away to call the supervisor, Marcus stood there, passport torn, dignity fraying at the edges, and thought about the irony. Just last week, he'd been invited to keynote at an international conference on leadership without barriers, and here he was, grounded by one. When the supervisor arrived, Marcus handed him the damaged passport. The man's face changed immediately. "Mr. Lee, I'm so sorry. We'll resolve this right away." Marcus didn't reply. He just nodded. But as the supervisor led him to a private office, his mind replayed the look on Keller's face. A mix of fear and something deeper. Shame. He couldn't tell. Inside the small security room, an assistant handed Marcus coffee while a representative from the State Department was contacted. 10 minutes passed. Then 15. Through the glass window, Marcus could see Keller sitting at a station, visibly shaken. One of her colleagues whispered something to her, but she just stared at her hands, motionless. 2. The story behind the mistake when the new passport was finally arranged. Expedited within minutes thanks to who he was. Marcus stood, ready to leave. But something stopped him. He turned to the supervisor. "What's her name again?" "Agent Keller." Melissa Keller." He nodded slowly. "I want to speak with her." The supervisor looked startled. "Sir, that really would insist." Moments later, Keller was ushered into the office, eyes red-rimmed. She couldn't meet his gaze. "I'm sorry," she began, voice trembling. "It was an accident." "I thought your passport was—" Marcus held up a hand. "I'm not here for an apology. I just want to understand something." She blinked, confused. "Oh, why did you do it? Honestly?" Her shoulders sagged. For a moment, it seemed she wouldn't answer. Then she whispered, "Because I'm tired." Marcus frowned. "I've been working double shifts for months," she said, words spilling out now. "My husband lost his job. My mother's sick. And every day I see thousands of people rush through here, and I'm supposed to keep them safe. Sometimes I feel like I'm drowning. I didn't even look at your face. I just reacted. And then I realized what I'd done." Tears welled in her eyes. "I know who you are now, and I hate that this will probably cost me my job. I don't have any excuse. She trailed off. Marcus was silent for a moment, his jaw tightening. He wasn't used to seeing vulnerability in places like this, behind uniforms, under badges. But something in her tone, that weary honesty, struck a chord. He thought of his mother, a nurse who worked 14-hour shifts, sometimes skipping meals just to keep the lights on. He thought of the night he almost quit after being passed over for a promotion. and the old janitor who told him, "Don't let them see you give up." The world's waiting for you to rise, not react. He took a slow breath. "What's your goal, Melissa?" She blinked. "My goal?" "Yes. What do you want out of this job? Out of your life?" She let out a soft laugh, bitter and tired. "Honestly, I just want to make it through the day," Marcus nodded. Then he did something no one expected. He smiled. 3. The shift supervisor stood awkwardly, unsure what to do. But Marcus turned to him and said, "Can you give us a moment?" When they were alone, he leaned forward. "Melissa, I run a company called Helix Dynamics. We build AI systems that make work easier for people like you. Systems that reduce human error, fatigue, bias. We've been developing a new airport security model for months." Her eyes widened slightly. "I've been trying to understand the real human side of these jobs." "And today," he said softly, "you just showed me more truth than any report or statistic ever could." She looked confused. "We're not angry,"
Oh, I'm angry.
he said, chuckling faintly. "Oh, but not at you. I'm angry at a system that breaks people down until they stop seeing each other as human." Keller wiped her eyes. "I'm still going to lose my job." "And maybe," he said, "or maybe you'll help me fix this." She blinked. Fix what?" He stood. Everything. 4. 10 minutes later, the entire office was buzzing again, but for a different reason. Marcus had called his assistant, who connected him directly to the Federal Transportation Board. Within minutes, his company's AI security division was offering to pilot a new system, one designed to support agents, not replace them. And at Marcus's request, Agent Keller was to be part of the advisory team. The supervisor looked like he'd seen a ghost. "Sir, you can't just—" "Oh, I can," Marcus interrupted smoothly, "and I will. You see, we've been testing our software in labs for months, but what we've been missing is empathy, the human factor. Melissa just reminded me of that." He turned to Keller. "You told me you're tired. Let's build something that makes sure no one else ever has to feel that way again." Her eyes widened. "Oh, serious? Completely." By now, other agents had gathered around, whispering. Word spread fast. The man whose passport had been ripped was not pressing charges. Instead, he was hiring the woman who did it. 5. The transformation 2 months later, JFK Airport buzzed again. But this time, not from chaos. A new security lane had opened, labeled Project Helix Human Plus, a pilot program integrating AI-assisted scanning with emotional feedback monitoring. Agents wore lightweight devices that alerted them when fatigue or stress spiked. The system adjusted workloads in real time, giving agents breaks before exhaustion led to mistakes. And at the center of it all was Melissa Keller, no longer a Zaya-line agent, but a project consultant working alongside tech engineers and behavioral experts. When Marcus walked through the terminal for the first demo, she greeted him with a small smile. "A morning, sir," she said. "Marcus," he corrected. "We're partners now." She laughed softly. "I still feel strange." He nodded toward the new scanning system. "How does it feel?" She looked around at her team, diverse, energized, and finally smiling. "It feels human." 6. A quiet moment later that day, as journalists swarmed and cameras flashed, Marcus stepped aside, watching the people move through the new lane. Faster, calmer, more respectful. A little girl handed her teddy bear to a smiling agent for scanning. An elderly man cracked a joke that made the line laugh. There was no tension, no hostility, just people moving together. Keller approached, holding 2 coffees. "I still can't believe this all started because I tore up your passport," she said. Marcus chuckled. "Sometimes the worst moments open the best doors." He smiled. "You could have ruined me, you know. Most people would have." He nodded. Maybe. But I've been on the other side of that look before. The one that says you're one mistake away from losing everything." She grew quiet. "You changed everything today." Marcus shook his head. "We did." As they stood there, a soft announcement echoed over the intercom. "Welcome to Project Helix. Thank you for helping us build a safer, kinder way to travel." Marcus looked out at the long stretch of glass windows, sunlight flooding in. For the first time in a long time, the airport didn't feel cold or mechanical. It felt alive. He smiled. "You know, Melissa," he said, "I used to think technology was the future." She raised an eyebrow. "And now?" He glanced toward the crowd. The people, the laughter, the kindness returning to the air. "And now I think humanity is." And with that, they stepped back into the terminal, two people forever changed by a torn passport, in a moment of compassion that reshaped an entire system.